It's getting hot now. I don't know if the cookie was enough. Oh dear.
My name's Ben Chapman. I got into cycling when I was 8. My most favourite thing in the world was jumping on a train and just get off and then go ride in that area. It's just the freedom of having a bike and to go anywhere you want.
So good afternoon and welcome back. Yes, I'm on the beautiful island of Tenerife for the 4th time in a row, and it hasn't disappointed again. If you follow me on Instagram, exactly the same, Benjamin LeChaplas, you'll know that I'm currently staying in Costa Adige or Costa Adeje, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And this morning I've made my way over to Los Gigantes, where I usually stay, and I'm climbing out of Los Gigantes into these beautiful mountains. And in my opinion, this is one of the best routes and more forgiving routes up TD. Vale, ciao. So before we fully immerse ourselves into this video, I'm 31k into this, and like I said, I've come from Costa Adeje or Costa Adige all the way down to Los Gigantes, and then I've climbed out of Los Gigantes. So just for a little bit of information, if you do come to Tenerife cycling or on a family holiday and decide to bring your bike, then once you get to the crossroads after you've climbed out of Los Gigantes, so there's 2 ways you can go once you get to the crossroads, and you'll know what I mean because it's like the last supermarket after the petrol station. You can go to TD, which is that way, or you can go to Masca, which is that way, and that's the way we're going. I've only ever been that way, so today I've decided to go that way. Climbing to Masca today, I've got around about 75k on the cards. Oh, and zone 3 is the new zone 2. It is near impossible to keep my heart rate lower than 160 here. It's really hot, really humid, and there's an awful lot of climbing. But I'm doing my best to take it easy and not chase some of the pros that are passing me. I've even been dropped by a mountain bike. I'm here in Tenerife with my family and an old childhood friend, Mark, and his family. And on this trip, I forgot my bike. Now, I didn't do it on an accident. I did it on purpose. I find myself away every couple of weeks. Let's clean this camera, shall we? It gets so sweaty, so no one can see anything. That's better. I find myself away every couple of weeks with the bike and boxing it up, pulling it apart, putting it back together again. It does get a little bit tiresome. As much as it's great to travel the world with your bike, cycling in these amazing places, creating content, making videos and editing on the way, it can sometimes get a little bit too much. So on this trip, I decided to do what a lot of people do and hire a bike. I was lucky enough to be provided with this Tracomunda. Just as a side note, this Masca route has the most amount of water stops. The route that I did yesterday has very, very little stops. if you want to get water or top up on the Haribos. And you know when you're in Spain, if you don't have an Aquarius and some Haribo, you haven't been on a ride. So as I climb this 11% monstrosity, I thought I'd give you a few of my top tips on how to get the most amount of cycling out of your family holiday. Top tip number one, when you get to your location or your accommodation, build your bike, but make sure you emphasize you're only building it to make sure nothing's broken. If you're on a family and friends holiday and you get there and they start unpacking their towels and you start building your bike, you know what they'll be thinking. Ah, here we go. He's off on his bike. But no, you're not. You're gonna chill for a bit. Trust me on this. Top tip number two, once you've built your bike, try and put it somewhere discreet. This week, because I've hired the Trekker from Bikes For You, I've managed to put my bike in the luggage room, which is really handy, because every time your friends or family come back to the room, they're not reminded with your bike being sat there that you're going to leave them for 4 hours to go on a bike ride. Tip number three, never ever go out on the first day on your bike. If you can, wait for the party you're with to say, are you not going out on your bike? Put it in their hands. I'm 41k into this morning. It's getting really warm now, and I've climbed to my viewpoint. I've done 1,450 meters of climbing in, like I said, 41k. It's time to go back. I've got a tiny little climb to the top of here, I don't know if you can see that viewpoint there, and then it's going to be pretty much a descent down into Los Gigantes, and then I'll probably cruise along the coast, stop for a coffee, and then I'll have around about 20k home. If you are going to be here in Tenerife over the next couple of months, head over to my Strava. This route will be on there. It is pretty much an out and back with a little diversion along the coast, but this has been probably one of the best routes I've done, and I think it's pretty tailored to everybody. Enough chatter, let's get back up this hill and carry on talking about our top tips for cycling as much as you can whilst on a family holiday. Another great tip if you're going to hire a bike in the likes of Tenerife or Mallorca, remember the brakes are back to front. Your left is your right and your right is your left. If you think that's going to be something you might struggle with, then maybe speak to your rental supplier and ask them if they have a bike that's set up not European. say up to now my advice has been a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but a really good bit of advice is to plan your route. I know that sounds silly, but it's very easy to jump on your bike, go out and hope for the best. But when you're in an area like Tenerife, Mallorca, or mainland Spain, ears haven't popped again, you don't want to miss out on all the good stuff. I use an app called Commute, and if you just search this area, it will give you certain routes depending on what you want to do. And I've used Commute all week for this trip. So, a great top tip, plan your route, and also make sure you're stopping for water, food, and don't forget the coffee and the cake. Always get coffee and cake. That little place there is actually really well known, so it's just outside of Chow or Ko. I really don't know how to pronounce it. I'll pop it down the bottom, just there, just there. I've got around about 20k to go, and if I don't get back quick, I'm going to break my next top tip. Don't be late. If you tell your holiday party you're going to be back at 12:30, then try and be back at 12:30, because otherwise they might not let you go out again. It's getting hot now. I do if the cookie was enough. And my final top tip is don't get carried away, know your limits. Got a little bit spicy then. Everyone, and I mean me by saying everyone, every so often will think they can chase a local. So 65 miles and just over 6,500 feet of climbing. If you like climbing, then Tenerife is definitely for you. A little bit of tongue and cheek in this week's video, but I hope you can take something from it. You don't need to ride every single day, and what I try to do is find a fine balance between family time and cycling. I'll be here for around about 7 days, and I'll try and get in 3 or 4 days of riding. In the first couple of days I try to find my feet, some shorter rides, and I always allocate a day, like today, for filming. I've been here 3 or 4 times now, and the route that I've done today, which will be on my Strava, and I'll leave the link in the description below, is probably my most favourite route. And in my opinion, it's very, very beginner friendly. The climbs aren't that steep, the views are absolutely beautiful, and 70k is a really good day out. It's taken me around about 3.5 hours. I could probably take 45 minutes off of that if I wasn't filming. The route that I've done today has got lots of opportunities for water, food, and you get to stop at that pretty famous coffee shop. Like I said, plan ahead, make sure you've got a route, get out nice and early in the morning, and you'll get back around about the same time as me, 1:30, and you've got the rest of the day to enjoy yourself. The guys down the road at Bikes For You rented me the Trek Amonda, and if I'm honest, out of all the bikes I've ever rented, probably 4 or 5, this one is at a very, very high quality. Alex at Bikes For You made sure I was set up correctly. The bike was serviced and I haven't heard a rattle from it. It is absolutely impeccable. It's probably in better condition than some of my own bikes. So if you are coming to Tenerife, make sure you hit them up. As always, I'm going to leave this video here. Please remember to comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see everyone on the next one.